In 2025, one company became so valuable that it briefly surpassed nearly every other business on Earth. It wasn't an oil giant. It wasn't a bank. It wasn't even the company that manufactures its own chips. Instead, its fortune was built on tiny pieces of silicon that most people never see. Yet billions of people unknowingly depend on every single day. Every AI image, every advanced chatbot, every scientific breakthrough powered by modern artificial intelligence begins with one extraordinary invention. But what almost nobody remembers is that NVIDIA was once a small startup that came dangerously close to disappearing forever. Its founders had only one belief: one day, computers would need to think visually, not just calculate numbers. At the time, that idea sounded almost ridiculous. Personal computers were slow, expensive, and mostly used for simple office work. Most investors believed graphics were just a niche for gamers. They saw no future in building powerful visual processors. Yet hidden inside that tiny gaming market was one of the greatest business opportunities of the century. The founders weren't chasing the biggest market of the 1990s. They were quietly preparing for a future that didn't exist yet. And within a few decades, that single decision would reshape technology, finance, and the global economy. To understand NVIDIA's rise, you have to go back to Silicon Valley in 1993, a place overflowing with ambition, money, and technological optimism. The personal computer revolution was already transforming the world. Companies like Intel and Microsoft were becoming household names, but among the giants stood a young engineer named Jensen Huang. Huang believed computers would eventually need specialized processors capable of handling visual information far faster than traditional chips. Together with two co-founders, he launched a company with a simple mission: accelerate computer graphics. The problem? Almost nobody thought graphics acceleration was important. For years, NVIDIA struggled. Products missed expectations. Competitors moved faster. Cash reserves kept shrinking. At one point, the company reportedly had only enough money left to survive a few more months. One bad product launch could have ended the story before it ever truly began. Then came a decision that would save NVIDIA and ultimately change the future of computing itself. In 1997, NVIDIA had reached a crossroads. Investors were losing confidence, money was running low, and another failed product could have ended the company forever. Instead of giving up, the team made a bold decision. They would stop chasing every opportunity and focus on building one product better than anyone else. That product became the Riva 128, a graphics card designed to make 3D games faster, smoother, and more realistic than ever before. The gamble worked. Gamers loved it. Computer manufacturers began placing large orders, and for the first time, real money started flowing into NVIDIA. But Jensen Huang wasn't celebrating. He believed this success was only the beginning. He saw something most people didn't. Games weren't the destination. They were the training ground. If a chip could process millions of pixels at once, maybe it could solve far bigger problems. Traditional computer processors handled tasks one after another. Powerful, but limited when massive calculations had to happen simultaneously. A graphics processor worked differently. Instead of solving one problem at a time, it could solve thousands together, making it perfect for complex visual calculations. At the time, almost nobody imagined that this same technology would one day become the engine behind artificial intelligence. The world thought NVIDIA was building better gaming hardware. In reality, it was quietly laying the foundation for the AI revolution decades before the world was ready. Most people believed NVIDIA's greatest invention was the GPU. They were wrong. The real breakthrough wasn't made of silicon. It was made of software. By the early 2000s, graphics chips had become incredibly powerful. But outside gaming, very few people knew how to use that power. Then NVIDIA introduced CUDA, a software platform that allowed developers to harness thousands of GPU cores for entirely new kinds of work. Instead of processing one calculation after another like a traditional CPU, researchers could suddenly perform countless calculations at the same time. What began as a tool for rendering video game graphics quickly found a second life in science, medicine, engineering, and artificial intelligence. Universities adopted it. Researchers built their projects around it. Startups trained their first AI models with it. Little by little, CUDA became the common language of accelerated computing. This created something every great business dreams of: an ecosystem. The more developers learned CUDA, the more valuable NVIDIA's hardware became. Switching to another chip maker no longer meant buying different hardware. It meant rewriting years of software, retraining engineers, and rebuilding entire workflows. Competitors could design impressive processors, but matching an ecosystem built over years was far more difficult. NVIDIA wasn't just selling chips anymore. It was becoming the foundation on which modern AI was built. And then, in the early 2000s and 20s, the world experienced an artificial intelligence boom that turned this quiet advantage into an extraordinary business empire. For years, NVIDIA had been quietly preparing for a future that barely existed. Then, almost overnight, that future arrived. Artificial intelligence moved from research labs into everyday life. People weren't just hearing about AI anymore. They were using it. Students, programmers, designers, doctors, and businesses all wanted faster, smarter tools. But behind every AI breakthrough was an invisible reality. Training these systems required enormous amounts of computing power, and when companies searched for the best hardware to do that job, they kept arriving at the same answer: NVIDIA. Technology giants began placing orders worth billions of dollars. Data centers expanded at a pace the industry had never witnessed before. The economics were extraordinary. NVIDIA didn't need to sell billions of devices. Selling a relatively small number of high-performance accelerators generated enormous revenue. Every new AI application increased demand for more computing power, and every increase in demand strengthened NVIDIA's position even further. Success attracts competition. As NVIDIA's influence grew, rivals realized the future of artificial intelligence could be worth trillions of dollars. No one wanted to be left behind. Some companies even started designing their own custom AI chips, hoping they could lower costs and optimize performance for their own services. Years of software development, technical support, and research partnerships had created an advantage that couldn't be copied overnight. Only a handful of companies worldwide could manufacture these cutting-edge chips at the scale and precision the market demanded. Even so, demand continued to outpace supply. Companies building AI systems still needed enormous computing power, and NVIDIA remained one of the leading providers. Today, NVIDIA's technology supports work far beyond gaming. Its processors help train AI models, accelerate scientific research, improve medical imaging, and power advanced simulations used across many industries. But history reminds us that no company stays on top forever. Every technological leader eventually faces new competitors, changing markets, and unexpected challenges. NVIDIA's story shows that long-term success often comes from solving difficult problems years before the rest of the world recognizes their importance. For entrepreneurs, the lesson is clear. Lasting businesses often create tools that help others succeed, rather than simply chasing the latest trend. The company's future is still being written. New technologies, fresh competition, and changing global markets will shape what comes next. Whether NVIDIA remains at the center of the AI revolution or shares the stage with new innovators, its journey offers a timeless lesson. The greatest opportunities often begin long before the world notices them. Those who build patiently, adapt continuously, and create value for others are the ones most likely to shape the future. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe for more stories about the companies, innovations, and decisions that shaped the modern economy. And tell us in the comments, which company should we explore next?